I'm like all over the house, and poor few were the only ones I could find.
Okay.
Rebel wearing
going here.
two rhinestone ones. But everyone's sitting there, he wears them. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess we are.
You ready?
Two.
Everybody ready? Okay, welcome to the Western Reserve Local Board meeting of October 10th, 2013. May I have roll call?
Mark Hall.
Present.
Richard Blevins.
Present.
Brian Benyo.
Present.
Melissa Potts. Present. Lisa Powell.
Present.
We stand for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with the treasurer's recommendations. It is recommended that the minutes of the September 19, 2013 regular meeting of the Board of Education be approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that the September 2013 financial reports be approved and the September 2013 listing of bills approved as mailed to each member in advance of the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Superintendent's recommendations. It is recommended that the resignation of Joe Prosick as assistant varsity football coach for the 2013-14 school year be accepted.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that Dom Del Torio be hired as an assistant varsity basketball coach for the 2013-14 school year as per effective supplemental salary schedule. Who is Dom Del Torio?
That's Pat's dad, a longtime coach in the league. He was coach at Springfield for many years when they were a top of the league. Very experienced, very good guy.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes. Motion carried. It is recommended that Michael Falaska be hired as 9th grade boys basketball coach for the 2013-14 school year as per the effective supplemental salary schedule and pending number of participants.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that Joseph A. Salmon Jr. be hired as the 5th and 6th grade boys basketball coach for the 2013-14 school year as per the effective supplemental salary schedule.
So moved.
Second it.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Motion carried. It is recommended that Robert Sheets be added to the classified substitute list.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Halls.
Yes.
Mrs. Potts. Yes. Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Benyo.
Yes.
Mr. Blevins.
Yes.
Okay, before we go to the principal reports, Mr. Blevins, you have...
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that working on a special program, Ken Johnson, who is the chaplain for the Indianapolis Colts, will be in the Valley the week of the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. Had an opportunity to find a place for him to speak on a Sunday morning, and he has agreed, and Pastor Vincent and Russ Liv have also agreed that we will have him host him at the Berlin Center United Methodist Church at 10:30 on October 27th. He will actually be giving the message, and we will have a meet and greet We're inviting, obviously, the community. We're also going to have flyers out tomorrow night. I'll be working with Pastor Mark at the gates. We'll be passing out flyers to everyone that's coming in. We're going to invite the 7th and 8th grade kids, the JVs, and the varsity. And we're going to ask them to come that Sunday in their jerseys and meet Mr. Johnson. He's coming in for some other things in the community, and we just kind of, I was actually honored to get the phone call that asked me to find a place for him to speak on Sunday. So naturally, I took advantage of that. So anybody that's around on the 27th, if you've got kids in college or kids home, please, and anybody, just invite them. I'd like to fill up the church and show him what kind of community we really have out here. So we're working on that. I'm working with Pastor Mark on that, and also Russ Lipp. So that's my announcement.
Thanks. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Okay, the building principal reports. Ms. Farrelly.
All right. Well, we are still moving right along and having a good time. We did something this week. We decided that we are going to have a student government and with representatives and everything in the elementary school. We thought that was a good thing, a good way to really get their hands into government, because they learn about government and they learn about different branches of the government. So the 5th graders are going to be running for elected offices, and they have to give a 2 to 3 minute speech on what leadership is and why they want to be a class officer, why they want to be an officer for their elementary school. And so they've been working with us. They come during their lunch period, and I was surprised because, well, I'm not surprised they're very serious about it. They're very, very serious about it. But I've had meetings with a number of the students coming up with their speeches and brainstorming and their ideas down. And I won't do the speech for them. I told them, I said, but I'll write while you brainstorm, and then you take it back and put it in sentences and paragraphs, and then we'll practice it and we'll get in front of the microphone. So the 17th is election day here at Western Reserve, and there'll be, we got parent permission because we want their parents to know. And then what we'll do after that is 1st through 4th grade will vote for classroom representatives, and we'll go in and talk to them too. Make sure it's not a popularity contest, but it's really, they're going to have to talk to their class and give a speech in front of their class about why they want to be a class representative. And then sometime later in the year, maybe February, we'll bring kindergarten in on it. So they're little guys now, but they can do that. They can go and listen to meetings, and then the older students will go back to the classroom after a meeting with the younger student and take information, help them give the information to their class in case they need some help with that. So we're pretty excited about that. Another thing, I'm starting in November, the after-school programs that we did before on Target. Outfitters will be here November, the Mondays in November. We're going to do the martial arts program. I've talked to them. Mrs. Ambrosia is going to do an art program after school, and I've talked to the music teachers, and they are going to do a music program. So we're trying to find some things that are things that kids can go to for 2 hours after school. Parents appreciate it. They pay for it. It's kind of a contract between them and whoever is doing it. And so it's usually around $5 a student a session. And the parents, I've had just very positive feedback from it. They appreciate having a place for their child to go after school. It gives them time to get home from work and the whole thing. So they do appreciate that. The 15th is a day that we've been so excited about. We got the early literacy grant I told you about. The 15th is our first parent meeting. We have 12 families that are very excited about this. What we did is we took our diagnostic reports, and some other information from teachers, and we identified the students most at risk in the area of reading. And we are going to be working with the parents, and the teachers are going to be in on this too. The teachers are each going to take a session, and we're going to be working on that with them on early literacy skills. It's a workshop, so it's not us talking to them, and it's not us like lecturing to them. They're going to do a workshop. They're going to have hands-on things that they can take home and work with their children with. And then Mrs. Nadaski is going to be contracting with us. And in between the monthly meetings, she's going to go out to the homes and give the parent support. So it's exciting. We're all excited about it. And we're doing we did order iPads for them to borrow, and we'll put apps on there so they can actually do there's a lot of good things that they can do, not just stories and reading, but a lot of really good activities. And today, believe it or not, well, not today, but I just created a Western Reserve Elementary app for the school, so it has to be approved by the app place. I have to pass the app bar, and then and it's a good place that parents can go on their phones and they can just get information. They can download that app for free, and they can get information about our calendar, different resources we can add to it, the contacts for the teachers, emails and phone numbers, or extensions at the school, and just things like that. So we thought that would be a real handy thing for parents. So I'll let you know how that goes. I was pretty proud that I got through the whole process, so it was good. So anyway, the third graders are going to be going to Salem Community Center this Friday. It's a really nice activity that Mrs. Mados got, and it's all about healthy choices in life, team building, things like that. So we'll hear a little more about that once they come back. And then we have a fundraiser going on. If anyone wants one, they're really nice, and I can actually go get one and show it to you. They're coupon books, and it's like the entertainment book, but they're not as fat, but they're a little bit longer, and it's all coupons from restaurants and services in Trumbull, Mahoning, or Columbiana County. So they're really nice. They're $20. So we're doing that as a fundraiser for the Principals Fund. And we have an eye screening going on. Lions Club's coming in the 29th. And then finally, we have our wonderful Halloween party on the 25th. We'll have the parade around the front of the school. If you're driving by and you want to stop, it's always a really fun day. Our Halloween parties are. And that's it. End of the day. At the beginning of the day, we're having a K-12 pep rally. And then we're going to eat lunch, do a couple of school things. And then at the end of the day, we're going to have our Halloween party. So it'll be a big day here at the school. So other than that, that's it. Mm-hmm. That was my short list. I was almost as long as Mr. Zatchuk used to be.
I can't imagine he'd be that long. Debbie mentioned the 25th. That's a very busy day for the junior high school and the high school. We have our activity day that day for junior high. So it'll be a crazy day. We're going to start with the pep assembly at 8:45 to celebrate Pink Ribbon Week. And that is basically in recognition of breast cancer awareness throughout the month of October. So we're going to start with the Pink Ribbon Rally, and we're going to go right into their Halloween parties, our field day and games, and with our home base kids. And then at the end of the day, we'll end up with the game that night at Mineral Ridge. So it'll be a busy day for the kids here. We were thinking of going 2 separate days, but then we thought, 2 crazy days. It's better to just do them all, make the whole place crazy in one day. So that'll be an active day. Our football team this week, in recognition, will be wearing the pink ribbons on their helmets, as well as Jeff is working with the paint crew to get the field numbers painted pink and the emblems on the field. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
That's cool.
So the kids are all hyped about tomorrow night's big game, of course, with Loga. Following tomorrow night also, bless you. Tomorrow night is also homecoming. Today we had our homecoming rally this morning, where each girl was introduced and discussion about their attributes and things they're involved in front of the whole high school. And kids voted today and tomorrow for the homecoming queen. The float committees are going crazy for each class. They're meeting every day and every night after school, working on their floats for tomorrow evening. It's amazing the amount of time that they're putting into that and how creative they are. Junior high pep rally will be next week, the 17th. Our junior high lock-in that we had following the North Jackson game was a huge success. First one we had about 65 kids. Debbie was crazy enough, she spent the whole night. But she doesn't sleep at night, so that's okay. But it was kids had a ball. They really liked it. Paul was thinking maybe of doing one with student council again in the spring, and maybe that will pick up a little bit in the spring. The high school also participated in the community service day with the United Methodist Church last week, disappointing number. We only had 8 families, actually, that we went out to help, and with members from the church as well as our students. They just went out, maybe cut grass, painted a little bit, cleaned out a garage, raked leaves, things of that nature, just to help out. We'll do another one. We're planning another one in the spring, and hopefully that will be a little bit nicer as far as attendance and demand of help at that time. And I think that's, we just finished our first round of content meetings this week.
Oh, yeah.
Something Debbie and I we're setting up to get our teachers from K to 12 all on the same page. And it's funny because one of the things that every group has come up with, every subject, has been reading across the curriculum. Whether it's kindergarten or 12th grade, we're trying to make a common theme in every group and a common vocabulary so that our kids are getting the same thing in each level. What we're finding is that we found the gaps a little bit. We know where they're at. And our teachers met in bigger groups at this point. We're going to break them down in November into a half-day professional development, working with each other. And we're going to split 2 groups of teachers, so we only have to get 1 sub for the full day.
Really good conversations.
Yeah, good conversations.
Very good conversations. And I think it's putting them really in control of what's going on that way with their teaching and kind of letting them have ownership to each other. It was good. I thought it was a great week.
A lot of good dialogue,
Yeah.
a lot of good dialogue with the teachers because, with what they're seeing, they're talking to one another now. Well, this is what the kids need when they get here. And that's the whole idea when we put them together is they're going to come up with here's our plan on what we're going to teach at kindergarten. And we teach the standards, but there's other things that the standards sometimes are so demanding we get away from teaching some of the simpler things. And that's come out this week too a little bit. Some of the things that we need to go back and teach that we're missing because the standards just skip right over. So it's been interesting. It's been a good week of that. Tomorrow we have 5th and 6th grade
And 3rd and 4th.
and 3rd and 4th, yeah. And that'll be language arts and the 3rd and 4th curriculum group. So it'll be interesting. We've tried to keep them all together. So because we're in one building, it's easier to do. And we want them to feel that they can go to one another. And we talked today about flipping. And we're going to take our 9th and 10th grade math teachers. We're going to put them in 2nd and 3rd grade. Because I think it'll give them a whole different idea when they say, well, it's not getting done down here. Maybe we're missing a fact. Well, they're going to find out why you're missing a fact and what you're dealing with the attention span of a kindergartner, 1st grader versus 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th grader.
Well, they can see the developmental process down there too, because they teach it developmentally, and they'll see the process of it. Sometimes when they get to the high school, they're teaching concepts, and they don't see the developmental process. So they'll get to see that. And really, the teachers, they were happy. They came at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were happy to be here. We do give them credit. We work with LPDC so they can get contact hours for it through the year. And I just take notes, and I'll type them up through the year. And then I put a report together along with the certificate with their contact hours. And it's really, we did that in the middle school for up until last year, and it was just not manageable with just the 2 of us here. But it was really, really valuable. I mean, as valuable as some of the professional development, they go probably more valuable than stuff they would go away
We're
to.
meeting about 40 minutes. Today we met with the
Math.
5th and 6th grade math, and we did it over their lunches, so they give up their lunchtime.
And that's their choice. They're the times, we told them times, and we have the same date. It might be the 2nd Tuesday or the 3rd Wednesday or whatever every month, but they came up with the times, and we can't make it mandatory, but they come willingly. So we're very fortunate because it's not like that in every district, so we appreciate the teachers because that means they're willing, and so we're lucky to have that.
And that's what we're up to.
That's
There you
it.
go. That's good of you guys even thinking about doing that. That's huge.
He's awesome.
Oh, that means the ball's a little bit bigger.
Okay, thank you. Tower? Oopsie. Oopsie. PTO.
I guess I'm the only one here from PTO.
I've never been to the board meeting before, but basically, we just wanted to keep you up to speed. Our bedtime stories is scheduled for October 22nd. It's going to be from 6 to 7, and we have donations from like White House for apples for the kids. And she's going to set a theme. She hasn't set it yet, I don't think. And then the kids will come in and they'll have their jammies on and enjoy the night and enjoy some reading and some snacks, popcorn, stuff like that. And then, like Mrs. Ferrelli said, we will have our Halloween parties on the 25th. And this year's going to be a little different because we didn't have as many moms step up for the 5th graders because there are 3 classes instead of 2. So we have gotten agreement from Mrs. Ferrelli, and we're going to take the 5th graders to the gym, all 61 of them, and there will be 5 of us moms down there putting the party on for them so that nobody's left out. Yeah, lucky us. So we will cover all 61 kids since some of the moms would not come through, and we will make sure they have the best party they have since it's their last party this year. So, and that's what we're going to do for them. And then after that, it's just more I step up, and we have Santa's Workshop coming up and senior luncheon on November 5th. Jasmine Henning has that, and we've got that covered as well. So everything's going good so far this year. That's it.
Okay. Denise, you have a question you want to ask?
How long do you have to be out of school, high school, before you're allowed to coach or help with any of the sporting events?
Okay, I believe the answer to that is 4 years, right? 4 years?
Okay. Is Jeffrey Clare coaching? Is that why he's on the sidelines?
Address that, he's no longer on the sidelines.
He's not trying to be...
No, we've got, we've talked about that this week. We've got a number of people that are on the sidelines that don't need to be, and that's not a place to watch the game from, so we've taken steps to clean that up a little bit.
I have a question. And I haven't been to any board meetings, so you may have already addressed this. All the work being done on the old school, where did that money come from? Was that money that we've had to do those things, or?
Some of it was permanent improvement money, which we get a certain amount every year, and some of it was money that was left over from this project that we were able to use some of that money and interest off the money. Answer that more. I'm not allowed to talk about money. But no, I don't mean it that way.
He said it exactly right.
Basically,
Interest
that's what
off
it
the
is.
money
It was
that we had.
money that was left over from the project.
Okay, is that good? Okay, all right. Do we have, there's Jeff, Marty's not here for anything. Okay, any other comments?
Add some stuff.
Okay, cool.
Mrs. Ferrelli, do you want to introduce your guest?
I would like to. This is Riley Walkinger. She is a graduate of Western Reserve, and she came in to do an interview for college. She is going to school to get a degree in education in pre-K to 3. So, do you want to say anything? Yeah? No. Okay. Okay. She's observing a family, and she's taking a class in family and community. So she is observing a board meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Of the things I've got, first off, it's not included in the packet I gave you, but we are to give reports for our Race to the Top that we have, and we're in our 4th year of Race to the Top, and we do have a team in place that meets, and we have a meeting next week on Thursday. And just to kind of summarize, the guidelines released from the U.S. Department of Education basically say that our work is to be in 4 specific areas: standards and assessments, data systems to support instruction, great teachers and leaders, and turning around the lowest achieving schools. So with that in mind, our goals for this school year include continuation with the core curriculum, teacher principal evaluations, formative assessment, mentoring and professional development, and the implementation of the state IIS system, which is the informational management system, which is kind of what we use, but it's a different one that incorporates much more data. So that's our Race to the Top. With the packet that I've given you, I kind of did some summarizing on that. The first large piece of information is a school safety emergency operations plan. Deputy Tomano, as you can see, put a ton of time into this, updating it, getting it current, aligned with what needs to be eventually uploaded to the Attorney General's website that's only accessible to law enforcement agencies, along with floor plans of the school. So what I would like to do is obviously give you this to look over, and we'll approve this as our safety emergency operations plans at the next meeting. Very, very thorough, very extensive. He's really done a great job with that. And so we have that in place. On item number 2, I had mentioned, I guess it was the last board meeting, because we had it a little bit later in September, but the Straight A Fund is $250 million the state has allocated for grants and innovative ideas. And I mentioned at the last board meeting that we are part of a collaborative group with the Mahoney County Educational Service Center looking at transportation, looking at routing software, GPS units on buses. And you think about that, well, what do they need to know at GPS? They drive their routes. But a perfect example happened this week. We had a driver that was out, brought in a substitute driver. If you can plug into those GPS where every stop is, that substitute driver doesn't know where every stop is, and they're looking mailbox numbers and trying, make the kids aren't always out there, and that would just be an added feature that would be so helpful. These trips to some of these other schools, first time to some of these schools that we have athletic contests or quiz bowl and things like that. So that's all part of that collaborative grant with the Mahoney County Educational Service Center. Also, I had mentioned another collaborative grant on distance learning. Flipped classrooms, there's a trend right now that's investigating the idea of the kids go home and by way of internet connections and online resources, watch the lesson at home, and then when they're at school and the teacher who is the expert can then help them do the homework, where the reverse is, what do? We teach the kids for 40 minutes, here's your homework, go home tonight and do it, and they get stuck on the first problem. So kind of a new trend that is obviously the need to have access to the internet and those kind of things. So this grant, and some of these are, you can apply for up to $15 million for a grant. And the county has already looked at in conversations with either Verizon or AT&T as far as accessibility to the internet, areas that are not accessible, what we can do with some of this grant money to make those areas accessible, even providing internet to some people who maybe don't have it or can't get it, and open up the doors to all those types of things. So that's the second one that we're involved in. Earlier this week, I was approached by Valley Energy Solutions, and you have a separate handout, kind of a PowerPoint slide. They do solar power, and I know sometimes renewable energy sources are a touchy spot. Their proposal, and I just met with them briefly on Monday or Tuesday, is to put up a solar field of about 3 acres on our property through the grant money. Part of the agreement is that we would purchase some of our electricity through them. They being a private company, energy that will be produced by the solar energy. They have some different tax breaks and things that they can produce. They can provide energy to us, electrical energy, at a lower cost than what First Energy can do. So we would purchase some of our energy from them. The equipment has a 20-year warranty on it. They would maintain the equipment for 15 years, and then it would be our equipment, and then we would just get credit for any energy that's produced by it. It's a 250 kilowatt or a 750 kilowatt. Now, I don't know if this is equitable, but our wind turbines were 15 kilowatt. So it's a pretty extensive. I don't know a whole lot about the solar energy. There also is partnership with the University of Akron, and the intent of the grant is to leverage some money by having cheaper energy costs that we can then utilize for professional development in cooperation with the University of Akron's teacher education program, special education, some of those kind of things. the biggest issue with this thing is the grants are due 2 weeks from tomorrow. They've not given a lot of time. And to write a grant for, I believe it was, the figure is in here, what they were looking at, $880,000 grant.
Get the Queen of Grants to do it.
Well, they'll pretty much write it. These guys are ready to go on this. It's just a matter of us saying, and again, if we get the grant. So there's really nothing, from what I can see is our commitment to this is that we would provide the property to do that, which we were looking at behind the baseball and softball fields. And they would take care of clearing it, installing it.
Did they tell you?
Sorry.
Well, those are things we'd have to look at.
Yeah,
I
they didn't
don't-
tell you what it would look like? Or does it have to be protected, or?
I believe it's fenced in, and it's just flat shields that would be kind of, angled toward the south to receive the sunlight. About a 400 by 400 foot area is what they said. That would be about the 3 acres. Now, they also have a smaller one, but they said it could be kind of, it doesn't have to necessarily be a square or a rectangle. It can be oblong, or it can, fit an area that we have.
And has anybody else done this?
There are other schools that they have done this with. I don't have the names of those that they have done this with.
I mean, I
It's a
just don't
local
want to see us
company.
with another,
Well,
something happening,
I
sitting
know,
empty.
and that's why I wanted to bring it up
Right.
to see, there is that Valley Energy Solutions is allocating $1.3 million into this project. That's Valley Energy. That's the company that had approached me, and they're putting money into the equipment and standing behind the equipment for 20 years and 15 years. After 15 years, it's ours. I just kind of wanted to get you guys' input, whether it's something we want to look at. And again, it's all based on if the grant comes through or not.
Right.
There's about 1,000 schools that have given an intent to apply for these grants. $250 million, 1,000 schools. I'm sure there's all kinds of ideas out there. It is innovative. It's leveraging money from one allocation to be used for growth of the teachers, growth of the students, affecting students. and that kind of thing.
Now, would our liability for this, I don't know, when you're talking electricity, I kind of think danger of some type.
Well, we have a lot. It would pretty much tie right into what we already have back there with the windmills, that electric part of that room, and it would just be a matter of timing. And they're.
But they would all tie into that same facility then?
Mhm.
Oh,
So looking at the breakdown, so out of pocket for us, it would be nothing, just the donation of the property, correct? Which
Yeah.
really in turn
And-
means it's still our
and
property.
a commitment to buy some of our electricity from this company, which they've said
Which we would
their
like.
rates would be lower. I mean, you get those things in the mail all the time from the
Right.
different gas suppliers and electric and that kind of.
How much more detail do you have other than this?
This is all I have right now. Like I said, I just met with them one time
This
this
is
week.
pretty vague right here.
First, and they just kind of made a presentation, and I told them I would get back to them. And I mean, they're very well aware that if we decide, there's more information that we would need to get and work all that out.
I mean, based on what I see, would you need action from the board?
I don't believe so.
Grant?
I don't believe so, because it would just be, we're writing a grant, is essentially what we're doing. We're partnering with them to write a grant. Unless
We can't
need
do anything
something
until, they can't do anything until we get the grant anyway.
if we don't get the grant, we don't
Doesn't
have
happen.
anything
Doesn't happen.
invested in
The
it.
surface, it looks favorable.
And like I said, it's something that's, they were very, very knowledgeable about it. They have technicians, they have, in fact, the one technician they have was actually working with the Department of Defense in Afghanistan, putting up solar fields, so they're pretty knowledgeable about that.
it requires sunlight, right?
What's that?
It requires sunlight.
Yes.
Northeastern Ohio.
Well, actually, and that's what they said, there's enough of that in this area that more sunny days than cloudy days. It's
Well, it must stay out
Isn't
here.
that why they
because
built
it ain't in the
the
city.
Arsenal?
I don't think we would need a board motion or anything like that. It'd just be
Right.
Okay.
kind of, I mean, I'll keep you posted. I'm sure if I contact them tomorrow, I'm sure probably early next week, they'll be up here and we'll really start to look at an appropriate site and if that sounds okay. I think, you know, when they called me and approached me, I thought, well, we don't have a lot of roof to put these solar panels on, but then I thought, you know, and then when they were talking, I mean, they're talking a pretty big area. It's going to, more than just a few panels, it's going to turn a few meters. So I'll get more information and keep you posted on that, okay? Also with the wind turbines, just, you know, we did have the crane here and it did take one of the turbines down. It's locked up in the one garage out there. The expert witness that we had came and did some measurements and some balancing and things, and I'll have to get with you as far as some of the stuff you had talked about, because I wasn't real clear on what we're looking at, but we'll get that gathered up. But the other one did not fall. We only took the one down, so that's where we are on that. The date for the mediation hearing is November 18th at this point in time. Construction update, the old building, I put on here reserve building. I think we need to start to get a name for that place. I don't know if that's something we want to call it, the reserve building. I know that was thrown around for a while and you know, and we can call this one the K-12, you know, reserve building. Not anything official, but kind of start pushing that. You know, everybody talks about the old gym, the old cafeteria, the old building. And I thought the reserve building might be something we could start to kind of put on, you know, building rental things and that kind of stuff, just to kind of phase into that. Painting should be complete by Saturday. They were here today, got most of the west end, and going to finish up the front, come around. I think the color combination is a lot better than what we had, and they've got it going pretty well. Doors will be painted as well, so it should be good that way. Roofing, the insulation and the membrane is either complete or very near complete. The entire roof area, really for the most part, all that's left is the sheet metal work to kind of seal it off around the edges, and that should be done real soon. There was nobody there today from roofing, but I think they're waiting on the sheet metal. All the new brickwork is complete. The trusses should be set next week for the roofs over the entranceways. On the east end, the accent they did with the brickwork, not just the pillars, but up against the building, there's some of the red brick to set that off, and I think that come out real nice as well. So they're moving along pretty well with that. This building, the K-12 building, we still have 2 issues to complete before we can close out on the construction project. I'll be meeting with the core team, which consists of the architects, the OSFC, the construction manager from Hammond Construction. We have 2 issues. One of those is electrical surge issues. We've had several power issues, brownouts, loss of some partial power. We've lost several compressors and motors in some of the units that we believe is attributed to that surge in power. Looking at a surge suppression system, the electrical engineers at Olszewski Jaminet have already kind of worked that out. We had a proposal from Tri-Area Electric, approximately $50,000 is the cost for that. That will still be part of the project, which will be co-funded between us and the OSFC. So we're going to meet and get that going. And our retention pond that's out by the, I would call it the northeast corner parking lot. You know where I'm talking about?
That way.
That way.
If you've seen that, there was a mix-up somewhere along the way. We put a fence around it. Our intention was it was going to have water in it. That's why a fence was around it, to keep people from being on it. Apparently the permit for that was pulled or drawn up as a dry pond, much like this one out here by the end of the driveway. Well, we can't mow that thing. And this spring when Soil and Water came and they said about, well, you need to get in there with a weed trimmer and knock these cattails down, there's about 2 feet of water in it. So that's when we questioned it. We're not getting much results from the engineer who designed that, and that's not with Olszewski Jaminet. That was a different thing. Point being is apparently that's supposed to be a dry pond. which means we should be able to maintain it and mow it when it's dry. And so there's going to need to be some work done, some grading, some changes in some of the inlet and outlet pipes. Probably remove that fence, to have room.
Who pulled the permit?
Seidler is the engineering company that designed it, and then Soil and Water are the two that I've spoken to about that.
Has there been any discussions with the parties involved about their responsibility?
Oh, that's
obligation?
this meeting Monday, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I don't think this is something the taxpayers.
Well, that's what, and like I said, that's why right now there's no cost on that, and if the permit was pulled as a dry pond, it wasn't constructed as a dry pond. So somewhere, somebody got the plans, whether it was the drawings or the permit pulled, whatever. And again, I agree 100%, that's part of what that meeting's gonna entail as well. So those are the two items that we need to do before we can close out the project and get what leftover money and that kind of thing. So we're fast tracking that, and like I said, I meet next Monday with that. The last thing I believe that I have is we had a question regarding vacancy on the Board of Education, and our policy simply states that a majority vote from the board can appoint someone to fill that vacancy. It cannot be done, the vacancy occurs January 1st, okay? It cannot be done prior to 10 days after that vacancy exists, so that would be January 10th. I think our second Thursday in January is the 8th, so we're going to have to move our board meeting in January, and then just by a majority vote we can appoint. That's for a 2-year term. Then we would have to request a special election for the November of 2015, because that would also be on that ballot, only a 2-year term for one position, and then the other two who are up would be for 4-year terms. So I wasn't aware of that.
The rotation can't switch and can't be 3 years?
No, I called the House School Boards this
Okay.
afternoon. So that's something we'll have to remember. However early you have to apply for a special, it's really won't be a special election. It'll be on the regular election day, but because it's not a 4-year term that we vote on,
There'll be a separate.
that year we would be
voting.
voting 2 4-year terms and 1 2-year term that year. So,
A couple of quick questions on the painting. The metal panels that are around the windows, they're getting painted?
the lighter.
Lighter, okay. And then the roof manufacturer, the membrane manufacturer, they're going to do an inspection and certify the roof.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Can you follow up
Check on that.
with
Dave Harris.
Dave Harris and make sure that if we're not getting that, I think there was talk at one point of paying for an independent inspection given the cost of the roof and potential for issues.
Perfect. I'll find out from Dave on that. I think that's all I have. Any questions on any of that stuff?
Good job, thank you.
Thanks. All right, any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
Being on the PTO, I wanted to talk to, I don't know if I have to talk to the board or Mr. Zatchak about it. We have our storage shed still down at the old elementary lot, and what we need to know if there's any way we can get any space anywhere on the property here so we can bring that to this property and store all our field day supplies in there.
There was talk at one time about somebody lined up with a flatbed trailer. Do you know, are you aware of that at all? Or?
We had a few people that could bring it, but we never knew where to bring it to. So if we can get permission and we know where we have to put it, I wanted to check on that, so we can, so it doesn't rot down at the old
Right.
lot.
No, absolutely, yeah. I'll have to go down there and take a look at it and see how big it is and see where we can look to put that. But I know there was talk of that, and then it just kind of fell off the side of it.
Before Laura left, she had decided on trying to sell it, but now she's gone. We feel, the president and I feel that we need it here, since we have bigger field day supplies now, like the hamster balls and stuff. It's taking up most of our storage closet, so if we can get the building up here, we can put all that stuff outside. Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's no executive session. Okay, then we have a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
Second.
Mrs. Potts? Yes. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Benio?
Yes.
Mr. Blevins?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried.
How's your son?